if you practice so hard and so fast, uh, you're without a doubt, your guys start to believe they deserve to win.
Hmm.
And that mentality, we deserve to win, that's confidence.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast, where we interview coaches and leaders to find out not just what they do, but how they do what they do. Becoming the best version of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we are joined by the head men's basketball coach of Richland High School, Danny Henderson. His 700 plus wins, 80% win percentage, and 4 state championships make him a coaching legend in Texas. Coach Henderson was the finalist for the Naismith National High School Coach of the Year award, and he was named TABC Texas Coach of the Year. In 2012, he was named Max Prep's National Coach of the Year. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast. There he is.
Okay. Hi, Matt.
What's up, Coach?
What do you know?
Oh, man, just trying to do this podcast thing, I guess. First of all, thank you so much for giving up your Wednesday night here, your time to come on with me. I've watched your teams play over the years. I've listened to you at clinics, and I've always wanted the chance, selfishly wanted the chance just to have you one-on-one. And so this is it for me.
Oh, well, thank you. Those kind words. I appreciate it. The respect is mutual, I assure you.
Wow. Well, I mean, at this time of recording, you know, we're a half a week away from starting on the 18th. You're probably you're 2 weeks away or a week and a half?
27th.
Okay. Yeah. So how are you doing right now? How are you feeling getting closer to that start of the season?
Yeah, I feel really good right now. We're a couple of key guys are banged up, but they're starting to get well. We're waiting on a couple of really good ones from football. But you know that a lot of teams have to do that.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, we're real excited.
What's one thing that makes your program different?
Well, I really think it's two things. I would say number one, first and foremost, is love. We tell our guys that we love them, and we make it a big thing here, and we get the guys comfortable to the extent that they hopefully begin to say it to one another. And when that happens, when they start saying that to each other, hey, love you, man, and stuff like that. That's when the magic happens. We have a coaching rule on our staff that if a player ever comes in our office, he could be in trouble in discipline, in a discipline situation, or he could just be coming in to hang out, or maybe we're bringing him in to praise him. Whatever the reason, all the coaches have to say we love you before he leaves. And we say it in the gym when they're leaving it, open gym. I just had a couple leave a few minutes ago up here shooting, and I told them I love them. And it's just part of what we do. And like I said, when guys start saying it to one another, that's when you've got something special. And then I'd say the second thing that makes our program different is the way we practice. We convince our guys, I don't know whether it's true or not. We like to think it is, but we certainly want our guys to believe that no one gets more done in Texas in 2 hours than we do. So we practice at an incredibly high rate of speed, almost no time between drills. We try to create incredible intensity, and when that happens, a lot of pride is involved. They begin to take a lot of pride in what they're doing. And one of the things that we do in our practices that make them unique is something I call the gasser system. When we get to after school practice starting on October 27th, we will start the gasser system. And what that is a gasser is a 17-second sprint, half court and back, full court and back, and that's a sprint. And at the end of each practice, they have 20 gassers. If you can imagine the scoreboard, where the visitor fouls are on the scoreboard?
Yes, sir.
We put the number 20 at the beginning of every practice, and that's how many gassers they have at the end of practice. However, they are in control of being able to delete or add gassers. So if they give us the behavior we want, we'll tell the manager, take one off, and 20 gassers goes down to 19. And Maybe another player exhibits behavior we want, and then 19 will go to 18. By the same token, if a player doesn't give us what the standards, it doesn't meet the standards of our practice, we'll add a gasser for him. So, for example, there's some categories, and the categories can be whatever's important to you, but like one category is extraordinary effort. And, when I'm new to a program and I'm explaining to the players what extraordinary effort is, I'll show them a picture of the famous Dennis Rodman picture where he's laid out, parallel diving.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'll tell them that's extraordinary effort. It's not ordinary. It's extraordinary. That's if you give that in practice, we'll take one off. If the team has great enthusiasm, we'll take one off. If you take a charge, it's automatic. And anything close to a charge in practice, we call it a charge, because if they're willing to take the hit, we're going to give it to them in practice.
Yeah.
And we'll take one off. If someone does something really intelligent in practice, maybe we watched some video the day before and we pointed something out, and then someone, performed that.
Yeah, makes the one more pass that you've been really wanting. Yeah.
We'll make a big deal about it and say, that's a great job, Xavier. Take one off for Xavier, so on and so forth. And then the most important thing, and this is the best part of the gasser system, if we catch a player teaching or coaching one of his teammates in practice, we'll take one off.
Love that.
And the goal of that is, if you think back to the education classes we all took in college, the laws of learning, it's like you retain, 10% of what you hear, 20% of what you read, and, that whole thing. But you retain 100% of what you teach.
That's right.
So we want to get the guys to where they're teaching the practice. And if they can teach it, they know it. So we'll make a big deal about that too. If I say, boy, Anthony's doing a great job teaching his teammate, take one off for Anthony, So, and by the same token, if someone gives poor effort, whereas when I was early in my career, I would just lose my mind and start yelling and, when somebody didn't give great effort, and often the player receives that as being a personal attack too.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go home exhausted every night from practice. Now I just, matter of fact, I turn to the manager and say, Bobby's, that's not our standard of effort. Add one for Bobby. And it's not personal. I'm not angry. It's just a fact. And he knows,
take the emotion out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And believe me, he feels the peer pressure. He knows what he did to the team. He knows full well. And if it's really poor effort, I'll bring it up when we're running the gassers at the end. I'll say, hey, we would be done right now, but we've got two more because of, Bobby just didn't give our effort our standard of effort, So turning down a charge is the only thing that is two. If you turn down a charge in practice, we add two for that. But not coaching, let's say we're doing shell drill and there's 4 in each line, and let's say the next guy to come up is a young freshman, and I've got a freshman in the varsity period right now, and he's learning, and he's making lots of mistakes. He's talented, but he's making lots of mistakes. Well, if I have to stop the shell drill and walk around over there to show him what he did wrong, when 3 or 4 of our older guys had the opportunity to teach him, I'll go teach him, and then I'll say, hey, Jordan and Jalen both had an opportunity to teach him, and they didn't do it. Add one for them. They weren't coaching their teammate. By the same token, let's say I take one off because Matt gave extraordinary effort, I make a big deal. If the gym doesn't explode in enthusiasm, I'll take it right back off. That's a great job, Matt.
I love that.
Teammates didn't appreciate it, so let's put that back up there. So what we achieve is the practice sounds like a pep rally. I mean, It really sounds like a great high school pep rally, and that's what we want, because time passes faster when you're that kind of enthusiasm, when you have that kind of enthusiasm. And, I've had college players, come back and tell me, Marcus Smart, he said, he came back and said, Coach, I'd give anything if we practiced in college like we did in high school. They love
it goes quicker. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so fast. Oh, and another thing we'll do in the gassers that we give them 8 seconds between every drill. Like when I call it, when one drill is over, we normally, the winner gets water, the loser runs real quick, just real quick, over and back, whatever. And the second the losers are done, I call out the name of the next drill, like protect the paint drill. They all have to echo communicate, protect the paint drill. And then when they finish the echo communication, I go into my count. I'll go 8, 7, 6. Now it's like 8 Mississippi,
Sure.
7. When I get to 0, if they're not lined up and running the drill, then I add a gasser. So it makes the practices go really, really fast, and the communication has to be off the charts, or they're going to get a gasser added. They've got to be pointing and talking, getting each other in the right place, and we don't allow pronouns in practice. You can't say, "Hey, we need somebody over here." No, it's got to be, "Anthony, you get in this line. You get second in line. You need a basketball, Anthony." They have. I got this from Coach Meyer. Give orders that cannot be misunderstood. And we say that all the time. Real leadership is when you give orders that cannot be misunderstood. I got that from Don Meyer. So we say that a lot. But anyway, that's the two things. I think love and the way we practice are the two things that make our program maybe a little different.
So there's a lot to unpack. I'll start with the first one, with love. I think it's a really cool thing that you do, and because one thing about loving a player and actually saying it, not every kid hears that all the time. We assume that every kid hears that they're loved all the time, and so for some it might be hearing that and they really need it. But also love goes beyond how you feel about them that day. And so I love what you said. Even when they walk in the office, whether they're in trouble or whether they're doing something great, you say that you love them because it's above that. How long does it take, just kind of guess or on average, for them to start kind of reciprocating that back? Is it immediate or does it take some time?
Didn't take long here at Richland.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fast. I mean, the kids at Marcus High School, it maybe took a little longer. And really, I've got to give all the credit to Kenny Bourne, who I coached with at Marcus. I mean, I told kids I loved them, but it had to be a really special, sometimes a heart-wrenching situation, or, it was a special moment. But Kenny it was just part of his everyday thing. He made me a lot better coach. I'll tell you that by just that one thing. I mean, Kenny made me a better coach in a lot of ways, but that one thing, and it enriches your coaching, and it enriches their experience in the program too. Yeah. It's surprising how willing high school boys are to say that, to tell each other they love them, and to say it back to you. It's really shocking.
The second thing is with the gasser. I love the idea of, because obviously we want fast-paced competitive practices, but this brings another element. Like, it's almost like there's another competition going on the entire practice long, that they can, by their actions and by the culture that you want, they can affect the change. And that's the first time I've ever heard of something like that, where from the beginning you have this, and then over the course of the practice, I love that. I think it's brilliant.
Well, thank you. I don't know about brilliant, but
it's brilliant.
It works well for us. I've been doing it, I don't know, 15 years. So,
okay.
Something like, we even started doing it at Boise State.
Really?
The year we won the Mountain West Conference, we started doing them. Yeah.
How do the college players respond to it? They love it?
Good. Yeah. They did. I don't know how you couldn't really say the truth. I mean, instead of having to get through practice, it really gives you a tangible goal.
That's right.
And it also gives you a tangible way to lessen not punishment, but the conditioning. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Conditioning at the end of practice, So, and a great practice, great practice, they'll get down to 0.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask next, is how much do you end up actually running?
I would say at the end of one of our practices, because we do go so fast and so hard, if you've got 7 or more gassers at the end, there's some real pain involved. If you get up around 10, somebody's going to run and go hug the trash can.
Early on when you're incorporating this system, do you give them pluses or take them off maybe a little bit quicker, or because I mean we know, like, we know what spirit sometimes sounds like in the gym, but then we know when this is a championship environment. Do you kind of give them some to see where they could get with it, or does that make sense?
They figure it out real quick. I mean,
Okay.
I set a standard and they've got to meet it. It's up to them. It's totally up to them.
Okay.
Um, the, yeah, when we have great enthusiasm in the gym, and that's something I'll say is that this sounds like a championship gym. Take one off, and stuff like that. Um, but no, I think you set the standard and they have to meet
Yep.
it. And if they do, they get rewarded for sure. Boy, it's really cool at the end of a practice when they get it down to zero. They
Yeah.
really feel good about themselves and
Yeah.
they feel like they really accomplished something together.
What's your favorite culture building activity?
Oh, the way we practice.
Yeah.
It reinforces our culture at every turn in practice. I mean, it, but I think before you do anything though, Matt, I think the kids have to know exactly what the culture is and they have to believe in it. I think culture, I know culture is a word that's just tossed around
Yeah.
now in American sports, but it's a gimmick if the players don't know exactly what your culture is and they don't believe in it. And yeah, I'm confident, you could ask our players and they'll tell you that it's basically three pillars. Number one is love. Number two is defense. That's the second pillar. Great defense is the common denominator of all championship teams, all sports. You watch who wins the World Series, it'll be the best defensive team.
Hmm.
They'll have great pitching and they'll be a great defensive team. It's that way every year. You know, Football, there's no no secret. Alabama plays pretty good defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know it's harder to play good defense in NFL and college football now because of the rules, but still, you couldn't run the ball on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just could not do it last year,
Yeah.
and it was a big reason they won the Super Bowl. And in basketball, it goes without saying. I mean, look at Baylor. Good Lord. Well,
Yeah.
you're a former Bear. I mean, the defense they played was phenomenal.
Yep.
And so our second pillar is defense, and then the third pillar is the way we practice. That's love, defense, and the way we practice. That's
Love that.
culture, and our players know that, and they believe in it.
Hmm.
And I think this year they really believe in it. It was, last year was tough to establish a new culture because of COVID, man. It seemed at every turn,
That's right.
yeah, it was a roadblock with COVID, and we got our football players didn't get to us till nine basketball games in
Hmm.
because 5A football was backed up,
Yep.
and so it was hard. We felt like we got it done. We went on a winning streak at the end, and it was because they just latched onto these three pillars.
So that's one thing. I don't know if I've ever really figured out. I don't know if there's a right way, but you start off the season with your basketball only guys, and you start to build that culture, and you start to get some reps and some energy and flow going, and then you bring the football players in. What's some advice on, like, how to bring them into the culture quickly to where they feel like they're a part of it? They don't feel like they're outsiders that are behind, and I mean, what are some tips for that?
Man, that's a great question, and it's not an easy one at all. Fortunately, we'll have two football players come to our varsity from football this year, and they're both bought in. So this year will be easy. Uh, One of them, in a normal situation, could be a problem because he's already a Division I football player, already signed and
Hmm.
already committed and all that. But I know he loves basketball and he loves this team. He's told me that repeatedly and he's shown that. It won't be any problem with him, but it could be a real problem in that situation for a lot of teams. I just don't think you can ever lower your standards. I mean,
Yeah.
if your culture's already created, they either get on board or they get out.
Right.
I had an interesting discussion with another coach about that. He brought up that it's just so many years he'd get a football player at two, and it's just like I can kind of take it or leave it, and that's tough. But they're just gonna have to leave it. I mean, these are our standards. You either meet them and get on board or get out. It's
Yeah.
just a choice. You're welcome to be here and welcome to help us. But yeah,
Our,
that's not easy though.
our football players we've had here are generally like kind of like that guy you said, loves the team, loves basketball, excited to come compete. One thing I've noticed is I really have to help them more. So, okay, confidence is one of those words, like kind of like culture that so many people talk about and want to know how you build it and everything. And but obviously, we know that a lot of confidence comes from preparation. And so I felt that I have to help these football players more with protecting their confidence, letting them know it's okay to feel like I don't know why I'm missing lips. I don't feel right out here. I don't feel. Well, hey, man, it's going to take some time. But that's been the biggest struggle I see is not them not wanting to work hard or be out there. They have these expectations that are maybe a little unrealistic because they haven't touched a ball in 3 or 4 months. And so I've had to help them with that more.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. How does culture drive performance? And I think I'm excited to hear your answer just because of how special yours is and those 3 pillars. So how does it drive what you guys do?
How does culture drive performance? Well, it brings to mind the famous quote by Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence. So everyone knows that excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. And I'll go back to that first sentence. We are what we repeatedly do. If you repeatedly, every day in practice, if you repeatedly reinforce this culture and the culture is strong, then your performance is going to be strong. I think it all goes back to practice. Practice is everything to me, man. I think it's where you build your practice. It's where you win games. My favorite quote of all time is that by Sun Tzu, the Chinese
yes, sir.
General, all battles are won before they are fought. And they are, they're won in practice. I think if we are what we repeatedly do, going back to Aristotle,
yeah.
If repeatedly, day after day after day, your culture is strong and it's reflected in everything you do in practice, then it's going to drive your performance.
So a lot, obviously the value of practice and what you got and how you guys play, I can see that and hear it. Meeting one-on-one with players or having those types of interactions, is there a system that you have, or is it more on feel, or how do you go about, because sometimes there's some things in practice that you can't spend all your time with addressing right there. So how do you go about meeting with players and reinforcing your culture that way?
I think that's a great question. And I got so lucky coming out of college. My first job, my college coach set me up with this job. I didn't have to interview or anything. He set me up to work for Chester Story. And Chester was the coach at McKinney back then, McKinney High School, and it was not a very good job, but I was with him for 2 years, and he's a phenomenal coach. He's in the Texas Basketball Hall of Fame. He, at that time, was a former college coach, and I just learned so much from Chester. Chester's last college job was at Howard Payne, and he had some health problems and actually had to get out of college coaching, but he won the Lone Star Conference twice when he was at Howard Payne, and they were tiny, now, they were the tiny school in Lone Star. He could really, really coach. Anyway, and his son, Kyle, who's now a head football coach at Frisco Independence High School, Kyle played on Gordon Wood's last state championship team in football in Brownwood. I believe it was 1982. And I asked Chester, I said, well, did you ever go watch Gordon Wood coach? And for those of you who don't know who Gordon Wood is, he won 9 state championships in Texas high school football. And that was before they split divisions.
Wow.
Man, don't you wish we had split divisions in basketball? But anyway, he won 9, and he was the first high school coach in America, I think, to win 300 or maybe it's 400 football games.
Wow.
I mean, he's incredible. And Kyle got to play for him, and Chester went to a lot of his practices. And I asked him, I said, what made Gordon Wood great? And he said, this is the number one thing I picked up from him. He said, he was incredible at when practice was over, he would go find various players and put his arm around them and just like walk down the field with them. And through conversations with Kyle, Chester learned that it would be, he would make Kyle, for example, who was a wide receiver, feel like what he was going to do Friday night was absolutely the most important job on the football field, and how much the team needed him. And, and he just made him believe, he would make Kyle believe he could run through a wall, and Chester said he was just unbelievable at that, just unbelievable. So, and I got to thinking about the psychology behind that. Let's say you have a guy who has low self-esteem, and we've all got him. We've got them right now on our team. On some of the great teams I've been fortunate enough to coach, we had guys with low self-esteem. You think about it, if you're huddling the guys up and you're telling the guys that you're great and you're this and you're that, I know what that kid's saying. He's saying, yeah, he's talking to everybody but me.
Right.
And I think that's the brilliance of what Gordon Wood was doing. He was motivating kids individually. So I'm not as good at it as I should be. I don't think any coach is, but I've tried to do that throughout my coaching career, really motivate guys one-on-one and just make them believe in themselves. Now, you can't do any of that unless you get to know them first.
That's right. Or else it's shallow. Yeah. They'll see right through it.
Yeah. They'll feel like you're prostituting them if you're just using them to win a game.
Yeah.
So, and we've all been guilty of that too, because we get so caught up in so many things, and and I always feel bad if I don't establish a relationship with the kid first. But yeah, so does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Gordon Wood.
Yeah, I love that, and I think after practice is a great time, especially when you got the guys that just love to stick around the gym, and they know it's open for them, but then that while they're sitting around, and you can address the guys that obviously that you're on the same page with them, but then those guys that you feel like they need a little bit something more. I think there's a lot of brilliance to that. Tyrone Lee over at Wakeland, I was at a little coaches meeting with him this summer, and he said, so I've always wondered about meeting one-on-one with guys, and what's a way to do it. He did this thing, it's called 10-minute meetings, where and I started it about a month and a half ago, but you bring in a kid for their 10-minute meeting. The first 5 minutes I ask the questions, the second 5 minutes they ask the questions, because
that's great.
Yeah, it's the second 5 minutes that is really fun, because how often do we really tell them about us besides just the story in the moment of practice, that is helping us get to a point? That's been something that's really helpful for me.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Little 10-minute meetings, but
yeah, I know he does a really good job over there.
How do you build confidence with your players or in your players?
Well, again, I think that goes back to the way you practice. If you practice so hard and so fast, you're without a doubt, your guys start to believe they deserve to win. And that mentality, we deserve to win, that's confidence. I'm sorry that everything keeps going back to practice, but that's it. And then also reflecting on the way we practice, I think we have our practices designed where hopefully we're ready for, any certain type of defense, any certain type of offensive action, any certain special situations. We spend quality time on special situations, so that the guys are confident that they're prepared for anything. Now, as far as individual confidence, like Bill Parcells said, confidence comes from demonstrated ability. In other words, what do you want me to do? You better have done it so many times. Well, and I'll tell you right now, what is it? It's exactly 8:00. I open the gym every morning at 6 a.m. for breakfast ball shooting. And my best shooter was here this morning. He never misses the 6 a.m. He's in there right now. He and one other kid, they're on. So he was here at 6 a.m. It's 8 p.m. He's still in there. Well, it's no coincidence. He's pretty confident shooting the ball.
That's right.
And it's easy when a guy has that demonstrated ability, that skill level, yeah, I think you can build their confidence because you give them the green light. When they're in that slump, that inevitable slump, you tell them keep shooting.
That's right.
Put your arm around them and say, "I believe in you. Let it fire, man." Yeah, that builds your confidence. No question. A lot of us went through that as players. My senior year in college was completely different than my freshman year. Not because maybe I was any better shooter, but because coach had total confidence in me.
Yeah.
Now, I'll have parents, and I know you've heard them too. Well, you don't build his confidence, and I'll tell them I can't.
That's right.
He doesn't have a skill level yet. I'm all brutally honest with parents. He doesn't have, like Bill Parcells says, the demonstrated ability because he hadn't been in there on the at 8 p.m. at night like Mark is right now.
It's actually good that he doesn't have confidence, or else it'd be delusion.
He'll get you beat.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Coach, this is my shot. I don't know if you've demonstrated that.
No.
The breakfast. So anytime like coach, like especially like you, says something that it gets my interest. The breakfast shooters breakfast ball. Tell me a little bit more. 6 a.m. When do you shut that down?
I open it every day all year long.
Okay, so in season, there's still at 6 a.m. guys, gym's open for you.
And it's not mandatory because you can't make it mandatory.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to make it mandatory. I want to see who wants to be great. And we keep up with their shots like that kid Mark. He in the past month he's made over 16,000 threes.
It's awesome.
So and
you have the right to be confident when you've done that.
What's that?
You have the right to be confident when you've done
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. It gives me confidence in them.
That's right. Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skill Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NIA and NJCAA to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 10-minute, 100-shot test can be taken for free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. Because of the player that you were, and then also the way that you talk about shooting, I want to ask you this. What's your favorite shooting game? If you just, with your team or with players, if you had to go to one, like your go-to, what's one that you guys do?
Well, first of all, I wasn't nearly as good a player as you are. Nearly as good. I played at the lowest level of NAIA basketball, and I was just an average player at that level. But I was always, even back then, I knew in my 7th grade year in school, I knew I wanted to be a coach. I've never veered from that since. My dad started taking me to the state basketball tournament when I was 9 years old. And so I kind of fell in love with basketball, and I thought, okay. When I realized about 7th grade, I realized I wasn't going to be an NBA player, so I started thinking more of I want to be a coach someday. So anyway, but yeah, I've always really taken I can't get enough shooting drills. I don't think you can have enough. I think variety is needed with shooting drills. And we have 5th period athletics, which is my favorite athletic period. It's right before lunch. Because once October 27th gets here, every day, 5th period, we do the entire period is competitive shooting drill.
Nice.
So our goal is to get every player 250 quality shots a day in 5th period. And then when we've got 5th period, then you've got they go to lunch, they go to class, then they're rejuvenated to go a hard 2
That's
hours.
Right.
After school.
Yeah.
I don't like, so I just, at one school I had 7th period athletics. I did not like it because we still did the shooting, but it turned into close to 3 straight hours. We did the 3 shooting 7th period. And then, so anyway, with that said, we have a lot of shooting drills. My favorite one of all, I think it's important that they're fun too.
Yep.
My favorite shooting drill of all, gosh, they've got to be competitive. That's the start. I'm sorry I can't answer this, but I really have about 10 of them.
Yeah.
I really like up 3 game because players really like it. It's really competitive and there's pressure on every shot. Are you familiar with it?
No, sir. Can you explain it?
Okay. You can start at the elbow, but I like shooting 3. So
yes, sir.
We start in the slots. You and I are partners and we're playing against, and we're in one slot, and then two other guys are partners in the other slot. There's an imaginary scoreboard, and it says even. Okay, Matt, you're on my team. You have a ball. You're going to shoot and go get your own rebound. You shoot and make the three. The other team hasn't shot yet. Now, you can go as fast as you want to go, but let's say the other team hasn't shot yet. You make it. You and I both have to call up one. We're now up one. The other team now right behind you shoots. Whoever the first guy is for them, let's say Bobby, he shoots. Yep. He makes it. They holler even. Then you throw it to me because you get your own rebound and get behind. You pass and get behind me. I shoot it and I miss. The score's even now because they just made it. The next guy over there, Jordan, he shoots it and makes it. Now they're up one. And it can go back and forth until one team gets up three.
Love that.
And when somebody gets up to, and some of those games, when you get four good shooters, they can go on forever. And man, you get just about every shot is a pressure shot, and I really like that. And they absolutely love it. So,
I think you're right on the money with that. The one, make it fun. Like shooting is, in my opinion, the most fun thing you can do the most fun action you can do in basketball. That's why the majority of guys started playing back in the days, because it was fun to throw the ball through the hoop. There was joy there. But then the second thing is pressure when you shoot. Like, why do most players miss in games? It's because they practice too slow and they practice without pressure. And so that game right there, if you're going slow, that other team's going to up you quicker. And then if you can't handle pressure, you're not going to make those shots. So I love it. I'm gonna steal it. The guys will be playing up three soon.
I have no idea where I got that. I got that one probably 20 years ago. I got it from somebody, but it's a really good one. Yeah, and you're right. You better make it fun. Now, you've got your rare kid like Mark Ruches, who's still, he hadn't come in here yet. He's still in there shooting. Unbelievable. He just loves to shoot. He doesn't need a score to be kept. Now, does he like it? Absolutely. But that's 1 out of 10 kids. Yep. There's a freshman in there with him right now the same way. He loves it too. But it better be fun, because they'll go find fun right here. They'll go sit in the bleachers and, they got girls talking to them and stuff. I mean, whatever, TikTok and all that.
That's right.
So, yeah, we better make it fun.
What's your morning routine or favorite kind of daily activities that you do?
Well, I am a morning person. I think people are divided in two categories. You either get more done at night or more in the morning. I get more done in the morning. And when I was in college ball, that made recruiting hard on me, because you need to make your phone calls at night. And I like to shut it down at night. And I did it, but there was a lot of hard things I did when I was in college ball. That's a hard.
So, Coach, I'm keeping you up right now, is what you're saying?
No. We're fine. No, I get up. I get up every morning at 4, and I'm trying to be in LA Fitness.
4 o'clock every morning.
Yeah, and I go to bed decently early too.
Yeah. But, how many hours of sleep you getting?
About 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah, 6. I get up at 4, try to be at LA Fitness a little before 5, get my in. And this year I'm determined to do it throughout the season. A lot of years. COVID hit me hard. I put on more weight than I've ever put on.
Let's text each other about getting those morning workouts in. Okay. I'll try to keep you accountable if you'll remind me, like, hey, Matt, you're still doing it, because I'm trying to do that too, but keep going.
And then I try to be at the gym by about 5:45. I open everything up, and then players start coming in at 6, and freshmen through varsity. And we normally have a pretty good crowd, and they come in and they shoot from 6 until right before school starts. And I sit at the scores table and I get a ton done.
Yeah.
Because they're just over there shooting, and I'll glance up and every once in a while, but I just get more done in the mornings. Just there's no, how schools are. There's so many interruptions during the day. But at 6 a.m. you're not getting any interruptions. So I get a lot done. I just like the mornings. I like it. And then, I just open gym after school and stay up here and let them shoot and stuff. I just love doing basketball. I really, truly enjoy being here. And then I try to throttle it down at night by watching Netflix of some sort. Because if I keep thinking basketball, I won't sleep.
Yeah.
And have you watched Ted Lasso, by the way?
Love it.
Unbelievable.
Love it. Coach, just be a goldfish. You just gotta be a
goldfish. I'm going to use that.
I can't wait for the moment, the opportunity for that to come up, especially with shooting. Like I could, you could, if a kid struggles the first practice, because we talk a lot about not just like I actually rarely talk about shooting form besides footwork and being prepared, but it's way more about what's in between your ears. And so the moment that a guy shoots and reacts negatively, hey, what's the happiest animal on the planet? I can't wait to bring it out.
That's great. That's fantastic. He just every episode, it just makes me want to be a better person and better coach because the way he uplifts everyone around him, everyone. And you know that quote that's gotten pretty famous the last few years. It's culture eats strategy for breakfast. I mean, he exemplifies that because he didn't know anything about soccer. But it's so good.
We're going to play hard for all 4 quarters. Halves. Okay, all 4 halves. 2 halves.
And he completely empowers his assistant coach.
Yeah.
I mean, and he empowers all the players. He empowers his leaders. That's just a tremendous show. So, yeah, I finished the last episode last night. So,
Love it. You know who that he reminds me of a little bit is Coach Drew. Coach Drew had that relentless positivity and optimism that when he first walked through the door, you're just like, nah, it's not real. Like he's not really like this. But then he hits you over the head with it every day. Yeah. And so I see some similarities there, but I love that. I love the routine. 4 a.m. That's something to work towards right there. That's something to work towards.
I know coaches who are great coaches, but just they work until 11, 12 o'clock at night. That's when they get more done. It's just whatever. I think whatever your body clock works best at,
Coaches, the one thing that every team needs is confident shooters. The last 8 years at Grapevine Faith, our teams have averaged 354 made threes each season. I love getting to share with coaches how our shooters train and, more importantly, how they think. If you would like to enhance your shooting culture at your school, contact me directly at jamodipodcast@gmail.com. So defeat, which, obviously your years at Marcus didn't have to deal with as much, but when that happens with the team, I think those are really important moments that can shape your future and where you're going to go, how great you can be. So how do you handle defeat directly after a game and then the next day at practice?
Okay. I'm trying to think how I'll answer this because I've got some pretty strong beliefs about this. The first one, shut up. Coaches talk too much.
Yep.
When we lose or we win, but especially when we lose, I'm extremely brief. For one thing, you may think you saw certain things, and I think I can see all 10 players at once. I can usually tell you what all 10 just did. But even with that, and the years I coached in college, the amount of video time I spent, it got me better at seeing the entire game, literally all 10. I felt like before I got into college, I was really good at seeing my 5, but you have to, because it's just so much video study. With that said, though, if I make a judgment of what we did wrong or right, if I made 4 judgments after a game, I'll guarantee I'm going to be wrong about at least one of them. Now, and I know that. So why in the world would I want to open my mouth and be wrong in front of players? Because then I've lost credibility with them. I got something great years and years ago from Lou Holtz when he was coaching at Notre Dame. And, he's a great motivational speaker. He said when they lose a game, he asks the same question every time, and I do the same thing. I say, what are you going to do now? It's the only thing I say after a game that we lose. What are you going to do now? And I just stay silent for about 30 seconds.
And you wait for their response, or just for it to sink in?
No, if they do respond, that's fine. Okay. And after they've heard this enough, they will respond. Now I'll look around the room. I'll say, listen, are you going to pull apart? Because if you do that, we'll probably never be able to reunite. And that's when the cancer sets in, and that's when the team disintegrates. Are you going to pull apart and start pointing fingers and blaming each other? You're going to get in the car with your parents and say, yeah, so-and-so didn't do that, or listen to your dad who's got an opinion, and blaming other kids? Is that what you're going to do? because it's the end of our team if you do. Are you going to pull apart? Or are you going to pull together? What are you going to do? Because if you pull together, we got a chance to be great, guys. We got a chance to be great. I do that every single loss, everyone, and then I get out. I don't weigh in on what we did. The only time I'll weigh in on any phase of the game is I'll say that defensive effort was not acceptable.
Right. Because that directly goes against your culture.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'll say, we'll take care of it tomorrow. And that's it. That is it. Because again, as well as I think I see the game, I'm going to miss something that the video reveals to me. So why stand there in front of your kids and be wrong? Why? You know, and here's the other thing. They ain't listening. I mean, their minds are racing. They're angry. They're emotional. Who listens when you know, I bet, have you ever been in a huge argument with your wife when you're real emotional? You weren't hearing what she said.
That's right. You have to kind of
vice versa.
bring your
yeah. So why teach them when their minds are level the next day, you know? Anyway, and
let me ask you a question about that. Is that something that you've always done, or is that a place that you've gotten to? Because I know for myself, not that I'm super old, but when I was younger, just starting out, I just thought I had to give them everything right there. It was that they needed to hear all of this. It was all so important. And then Charles Freet, former coach at Flower Mountain, he was the JV coach at the Colony when I was there. He
Charles
said, Matt,
a great coach too.
Yeah. He said, Matt, you 3 minutes at halftime, 3 minutes after the game. And he even said 3 minutes before the game. Any more than that?
Yep.
Lost them.
Absolutely. When I was with Chester, Dick Motta used to put on a clinic every year for high school coaches, free. So we went down to Reunion Arena. I probably went 3 or 4 times. And the first one I ever went to, he said something I've never forgotten. And this is to answer your question. He said, during timeouts, 2 things, 1 defense, 1 offense. He said, and guys, I'm coaching pros. He said, if you give them that 3rd one, all of it is gone. And I've always done that in timeouts. And I've always done, and it made me think about what players really retain. So, yeah, to answer your question, thanks goodness I went to that Dick Motta clinic and heard him say that, and it made so much sense to me. Yeah, 1 or 2, and we have a rule in our practices. Here's our coaches' rules in practice and after practice. In practice, on the floor, when the clock's running, while practice is going on, the rule is if you can't say it in 20 seconds, don't say it.
I love that. And
we hold each other accountable. And when I coached with Darren Smith, he was great at holding me accountable. He'd come up next to me. If I rattled on for 40 seconds, he'd elbow me and say, hey, you talk too long. He's right. Every time.
You got to have good relationship, trust, chemistry there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was right every time he said that to me. Kids aren't listening, man, after 20 seconds. And I'll come back to something in a second. Now, before practice, when we circle up, I believe you've got 1 minute. But their minds aren't racing. The scoreboard's not being running yet. You know, it's not go practice. I think you've got 1 minute max before. After practice, maybe 30 seconds. And our rule in the locker room, same as Charles, you got 3 minutes. 3. Because why talk longer? Because they're not listening. Yeah. They're not. And that was 20 years ago I've been doing this. Now, because of these things,
yeah, it's even quicker.
Their minds can't handle it. I mean, their minds are fluttering all the time. It's just how they're trained. We all know the reasons why. In the years I was a college coach, I was in hundreds of gyms across the country, hundreds, recruiting high school kids, watching high school practices. And without question, the biggest mistake in high school coaching, the biggest mistake is talking too much. Biggest mistake. I will watch when a coach starts rattling on in a practice, I'll start looking at his players. You can just see their minds. He doesn't see it because he's too occupied impressing himself, you know, but you can just see their minds going, hey, and I'm guilty of it too. And I want an assistant to come tell me to shut my mouth if I rattle on. I mean, they're not listening. So who are we impressing? We're only impressing ourselves, you know, when we do that. I think you've got about 2 or 3 times a season where it can be a big moment. You might be angry. It might be heartfelt or whatever. Well, you've got when you'll have kids' ears for maybe up to 10 minutes in the locker room, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. But it's got to be an emotional, heartfelt moment for them to listen that long.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 3 minutes in the locker room, 1 minute before practice, 20 seconds. If you can't say it in 20 seconds, don't say it in practice. So I don't even remember what your question was. I'm sorry.
I don't either. But that's the beauty of this is it's just the direction that it can go. And all my assistants at Faith, they're part-time guys. I'm the only full-time guy. So the amount of time that we meet and things, it's not as much as when I was at McKinney with Wes Watson, and every day we have a planning period basically together as a staff, like those are sweet times. But sure. But I have our meeting coming up here, and I'm really thinking hard about that. The accountability. I think I would do a good job of holding them accountable to 20 seconds, but I have to allow them to hold me accountable to that too. And you're right on the money. I think we always look back to the cringe moments for us as coaches are the times where we said something harsh when we needed to be more loving, and those long talks that just never needed to happen. And so great reminder, Coach, from you. I appreciate that.
Well, let me ask you this. Why do we not allow parents to approach us after a game? What's the reason?
Well, the 24-hour rule is just the emotion of it all.
Yeah. So why in the world would we go in and be emotional with players?
That's a great point.
We're going to say something we regret. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. Shut up and fix it the next day. And we've all been guilty. I know, I can think of things I said 15 years ago that I regret to this day, and just, yeah.
And I know you have an amazing basketball mind. And I think a lot of us that watch our teams think, when I think right after a game, I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what I saw and what happened. But what happens a lot is I thought we played crappy. And then I go back and I watch the film and I see really like we're a half a second off. We're half a foot in the wrong spot. Yeah. Our mind's in the right spot, but we're just, a little bit more. So, and then I end up thinking, hey, we're not as bad or far off as I thought. But I said those things, that right after the moment. So yeah, Coach Drew talked about that on here was say very little, just like you say very little, go watch the film and really have an idea of where you're at, what you need to focus on the next day. Well, Coach, last thing tonight. So this is called the speed round. And this is for coaches that think they know you to get to know you just a little bit better. All right. Quick questions. First thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
Yeah.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, pistachio.
Huh. For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
Shot clock. I saw them in California. It's fantastic.
Love it. Texting or talking?
Texting.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Invisibility or super strength?
Super strength.
Nice. If you could travel back in time, what period would you like to go to?
1960s.
Nice. Favorite junk food?
Ice cream.
Nice. Okay, 2 more. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
I've never drank a cup of coffee. Can't stand the taste. Yeah.
So not a caffeine guy at all.
No, I like
okay, Coke and things like but not coffee.
No.
Wes Watson told me if I wanted to be a head coach, I had to drink my coffee black. And so I told him the other day, I met with him and I said, Coach, I've been drinking it black ever since. And he just gave me a nod. Last question, Godfather or Star Wars?
Oh, Godfather. I love mob movies. Oh, Departed, Godfather.
Yeah, Departed's awesome too.
Oh, man. Yeah, all those movies. Yeah.
Coach, this was incredible. So many golden nuggets. And I'm just blown away that you would give up your Wednesday evening, give an hour of your time to talk hoops with me. Just awesome, man.
No, I'm honored you asked. And I've been watching your team. they can really score points. You've got it rolling over there. I know what you are.
Thanks, Coach. We do enjoy shooting the ball, but the defensive culture that you have, that's that next level for us, and finding the balance between the two. But
well, thank you so much.
Yep, thank you, Coach. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.